It's almost dizzying, isn't it? You think you've got a handle on how we watch things, and then bang, the whole global TV, film, media landscape just shifts again.
Uh-huh. Yeah, keeping up without getting totally buried in news, it feels like a job in itself.
Exactly, which is why we're doing this.
Think of this as, well, your curated guide. We looked at Further and Better's latest global TV, film, and media news roundup that was Monday, April 28th, 2025, and, pulled out the really key stuff.
And it's quite a mix. I mean, we're covering everything from these powerful new female characters emerging in Indian films
Right.
to how Hollywood's thinking about prestige, the wild world of reality TV, advertising strategies.
Right.
It's all in there.
It really is a fascinating snapshot of how entertainment's being made and watched, right now globally.
So our mission today is basically to connect the dots, find the surprising bits, and, well, make sense of these big shifts happening just under the surface.
Exactly. We're digging for the so what, behind the headlines, the trends, the insights that really show where things are heading.
Okay, let's jump in. Starting with India, actually. It feels like there's a real evolution happening in Bollywood, especially how women are being portrayed.
Yeah, that's definitely something the Roundup highlights. You see these female characters who are, breaking the mold. Films like Sister Midnight, Santosh, Girls Will Be Girls, All We Imagine Is Light.
They seem to be putting women front and center in a way that maybe wasn't always the case in mainstream Indian cinema.
Precisely. Take Sister Midnight. It premiered at Cannes in 2024.
Right.
And the lead actress, Radhika Apte, she described her character Uma as unapologetic and free.
Unapologetic and free.
Hmm.
That's pretty strong language.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving that? Is it like society changing or maybe more global film influence?
It's probably a mix of things. Audiences, both in India and globally, might be asking for more complex characters. And seeing diverse stories from elsewhere could be inspiring filmmakers, too. It could really change the game for one of the world's biggest film industries.
Okay, so from Bollywood films to TV series at festivals. Let's talk Canneseries. There's this Norwegian show, A Better Man. Sounds like it's tackling some really current anxieties.
Yeah, it does. Backed by NRK, produced by Maipo, it's described as a social survival thriller. Only 4 episodes.
Short.
Very short. And it dives right into things like trolling, cancel culture, masculinity. Really timely stuff.
And apparently it starts with a, quote, provocative stand-up bit by feminist Liv Steensvag.
Uh-huh. So they're not shying away from the tough topics.
And Beta Film is distributing it internationally. That suggests they think it'll hit home outside Norway, right?
Huh.
What does that say about TV right now, that these thorny issues get global traction?
Well, it suggests there's a real appetite for shows that grapple with modern life, warts and all. I mean, these themes, online backlash, public judgment, social pressures, they're pretty universal now, aren't they?
Sure.
And maybe the short format helps, like impactful storytelling you can digest quickly. Beta Film getting involved is key to getting it seen worldwide.
Okay, let's switch gears to some digital creators with bigger ambitions. Red and Link from Good Mythical Morning.
Ah, yeah. Huge on YouTube, obviously. 30 million subscribers, massive 1834 audience, big studio in Burbank.
But they're aiming beyond YouTube now. Hollywood Awards, is that right?
That's what the Roundup says. And with YouTube turning 20, it feels symbolic almost. Like, are we seeing digital creators breaking into that traditional Hollywood space? Could their YouTube fame translate?
It definitely makes you wonder. For ages, it felt like this big wall between online video and real Hollywood.
Right.
So them aiming for Oscars or Emmys,
Mm-hmm.
maybe those lines are blurring. What does that say about, what counts as prestigious entertainment now?
It could mean prestige is becoming more, democratic. Creators with huge online followings aren't just staying in their digital lane anymore.
Yeah.
They want that wider industry nod, maybe proving their work is just as impactful as traditional stuff. Be interesting to see how Hollywood reacts if this becomes more common.
Speaking of changing norms, TV season lengths.
Mm-hmm.
This is fundamental. Courtney White, who's now president of Wheelhouse Entertainment, had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, she was on Variety's Strictly Business podcast, basically saying those long 20-plus episode seasons, they're becoming rarer. 6 to 8 episodes, she thinks, is becoming the new standard. Which, if you think about it, makes sense. Tighter budgets, fighting for attention.
Right. So many shows. Does that shorter format change the storytelling itself, do you think?
Almost certainly. Less time means you've got to hit harder, faster. And it sounds like Wheelhouse is really leaning into this.
That's so.
Well, they're not just doing shorter seasons. They're building out franchises across podcasts, docs, even e-commerce. She mentioned Million Dollar Secret on Netflix. Gotta Get Out on Hulu as examples.
Like extending the world of the show.
Exactly. For them, it means more engagement, maybe more revenue. For viewers, it's a richer dive into something they like. Seems like smart thinking to maximize a project's life these days.
Okay, from business strategy to, well, some behind-the-scenes drama. There's a legal fight between the guys who created Lux listings.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intense. Benjamin Scott and James Kennedy, apparently they were childhood friends.
Oh, wow. That makes it worse.
Totally. Now they're in federal court. Scott's alleging Kennedy breached his duty, sold show rights too cheap, gave up ownership, and apparently secretly plugged luxury watches from his own jewelry store in the show.
Whoa. Like Rolex and Patek Philippe.
That's the allegation. It's pretty serious stuff, more than just a business spat. What does that kind of fight tell you about the pressures in reality TV?
Man, it really highlights how messy it can get when friendships and big money mix, doesn't it? Selling rights cheap, self-promotion. It sounds like a total breakdown of trust. A reminder that even in glamorous industries, these conflicts over IP and money can get really personal.
Absolutely. Shows why clear contracts and, basic ethics are so crucial, especially when friends go into business.
Okay, sticking with reality, but a much darker side. Netflix has this doc, Bad Influence, the dark side of kidfluencing, and it's been in their top 10 for a while.
Yeah, since it dropped on April 9th. It focuses on this kid influencer, Piper Rockelle, and some really serious abuse allegations against her mother. It seems to be tapping into a real public concern about kids online. It builds on conversations from things like Quiet on Set, There's growing awareness of the risks for kids in entertainment and social media.
So what are the big ethical questions it's raising about kidfluencing?
Well, it brings up a lot, right? Privacy, consent. I mean, can a young child really consent? The risk of exploitation, the pressure, what happens to these kids long-term when their whole childhood is basically content?
Yeah, it's complex. The fact it's hitting a nerve suggests people are really starting to wrestle with this stuff.
Exactly. Makes you think about responsibility, parents, platforms, maybe regulators. How do we protect kids navigating this weird world of online fame?
Now, interesting point here. A lot of people thought the Hollywood strikes would cause this huge boom in reality TV production.
Right, fill the gap.
But it sounds like maybe not. Julie Pizzi, she's the CEO of Bunim and 51 Minds. She has a different take.
Yeah, she's seeing more of a plateau, surprisingly. Networks seem more cautious, focusing mainly on the guaranteed monster hits. Think The Traitors or Squid Game.
So they're being really selective about new reality shows.
Seems like it. Even big players like Bunim, The Challenge, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, are apparently having developed projects put on hold.
Wow, so even with a track record like that?
Yep. Suggests budgets are tight, the stakes are higher, networks want sure things. The bar to get a new reality show greenlit seems to have gone way up.
So it's a more risk-averse climate then, prioritizing the known over the maybe innovative.
That's what it sounds like. Only the strongest, most commercially safe ideas might be getting through right now.
Okay, let's pivot to advertising.
Yeah.
Because, that powers so much of this. The scale of Disney's digital ad operation is kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. Josh Madison shared the numbers. Get this. 4 to 5 billion ad impressions a week.
Billion across Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN.
Yep. And they get something like 50,000 ad creatives sent to them every month.
How do you even manage that?
Well, AI, basically. Has to be.
Makes sense.
But the interesting takeaway from that Variety Marketing Summit was this constant theme, authenticity.
Ah, the magic word.
Right. In this absolute flood of digital content, especially with younger viewers who hate being overtly sold to, that genuine connection is apparently everything. Why is authenticity so key now?
Well, we're just drowning in ads, aren't we? We filter them out.
Yeah.
Authenticity cuts through. Younger people especially seem to value transparency, real connection. Fake or try-hard stuff gets ignored or worse, called out.
So building trust, showing real values, that's the way to actually get noticed.
Seems like it. The only way, maybe. Okay, let's shift focus to the artistry, production design. Hannah Beachler, she won an Oscar.
For Black Panther, yeah.
Right. Her work on this film, Sinners, sounds incredible, like really deep research.
What's amazing is how deep she went into the Mississippi Delta setting. researching the blues, the local speech, architecture, even the plants and nature.
Wow.
It clearly shaped the whole look. How does that level of research actually impact a film beyond just looking good?
Well, she gave examples, right? Like designing a chapel to look like a farmhouse inspired by cotton fields nearby, or finding a specific small church as a model. It makes the world feel real, lived in, culturally specific. And Sinners is apparently a vampire story, but grounded in this deep sense of place, starring Michael B. Jordan. Sounds unique.
Definitely. Beechler's work shows how design isn't just background, it's storytelling. It grounds even fantasy in something tangible, connects you emotionally.
Now, kind of the opposite end of the art spectrum, maybe. Thomas Kincaid, the painter of light.
Ah, yeah. His stuff was everywhere in the 90s. Hugely popular, but the art world, not so much.
Right. But this new documentary, Art for Everybody, apparently shows he started out wanting something different.
Yeah, it reveals he initially wanted to be like Van Gogh. Capture the world's pain, that kind of intensity.
Seriously, from the guy who painted cozy cottages.
That's the story. His shift to those, idealized, super sentimental scenes is a really interesting look at art versus commerce, maybe. Personal vision versus market demands. What does that path say about finding success as an artist?
It makes you think, doesn't it? About what success even means in art. He obviously connected with millions who wanted that comfort and light, even if critics scoffed. Raises questions about artistic fulfillment and the different roads artists take.
For sure. Why do people create? Who is art for? His story touches on all that.
Okay, back to festivals. Beijing International Film Festival winners were announced. Always interesting to see what gets recognized globally.
Yeah, and what's noticeable is how international the winners were. Lovable, an Icelandic film, got Best Feature and a bunch of other awards. And films from Argentina, The Message, and Japan, Trapped also won multiple awards. It shows there's great stuff happening everywhere. Why should we pay attention to these festival wins?
Well, these festivals are vital launch pads, right? Especially for films that might not get a big Hollywood-style release everywhere. They elevate different voices, different perspectives, gives us a richer view of cinema.
Yeah.
And a win can really open doors for filmmakers.
Right, boost their careers. Okay, switching slightly a casting anecdote. Carmel Cochran, the casting director.
Yeah, she did Saltburn, Rye Lane.
Right. She apparently apologized to Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah. She admitted she initially doubted Depp for a role in Nosferatu, but then the audition completely changed her mind.
Huh. That's pretty candid.
It is. Kind of refreshing. Shows that first impressions aren't everything, even for pros. What does that tell you about casting?
Well, it underlines why auditions matter, right? Seeing someone actually do the part, not just judging based on past work or reputation. Actors can surprise you.
Definitely. Okay, speaking of opportunities, the Adelaide Film Festival in Australia, they're teaming up with the Cannes Marché du Film again.
Yeah, second year running. It's a showcase for South Australian filmmakers.
What does that involve?
They get to pitch their projects, films like Rewilder, Diabolic, the run directly to industry folks at Cannes, buyers, distributors. It's a big deal.
So it's about connecting local talent with the global market.
Exactly. Huge exposure. Initiatives like that are so important for helping filmmakers get their projects seen and funded internationally.
Makes sense. Now back to Canneseries for a bit. Some interesting reflections from creatives there. Beau Willem in House of Cards, Andor.
Right. He talked about writing for Andor Season 2.
And he sounded really positive about it. Praised Tony Gilroy's mentorship and said he loved just focusing purely on writing without being the showrunner.
Like a supportive creative bubble. How important is that kind of mentorship and focus?
Well, good mentorship gives guidance, feedback, helps you navigate things, and just focusing on the writing without production headaches. That lets you go deeper, right? His experience really highlights how much that environment matters for quality. And Jane Tranter, also a Canneseries, she shared something quite moving about James Gandolfini.
Oh, yeah. From The Sopranos.
Yeah. Their friendship during the NIDA project apparently really shaped her career.
How so?
She said his support gave her confidence, taught her a lot about working in New York, and that influenced her setting up her company, Bad Wolf.
Wow. So a personal connection had this major professional impact.
Yeah, it's a great reminder of how much those relationships matter in this industry. It's not just deals and scripts.
Definitely underscores the human element. Okay, what about the shows themselves at Canneseries? Prime Video's Escort Boys is back for Season 2.
Yep, and apparently it's going darker.
Oh. Season 1 was more comedy, right?
Yeah, raunchy comedy. But Season 2 is supposedly digging into love, female sexuality, toxic masculinity, deeper themes.
Yeah.
What does that kind of shifts usually mean for a show?
Often it's about adding depth, right? Exploring characters more, trying to connect with the audience on a different level, maybe trying to broaden its appeal beyond just the initial hook. The fact it's adapted from a book, Johnny and the Knights of Galilee, probably helps provide that richer material.
Interesting. Also, a Canneseries, Alex Berger. He's the producer who brought the American-style writer's room to France with the Bureau.
Ah, yeah, that was groundbreaking for French TV like a decade ago.
And he's still influencing things with shows like The Agency and this structured writing workshop he set up.
It really shows how successful ideas travel. Adapting that collaborative writing model clearly worked well in France. You see that global exchange of techniques happening all the time.
It's cool to see industries learning from each other.
And speaking of successful industries, Norway got a shout out. Marianne Fjørvold Boland from NRK was celebrating their run at Canneseries.
How many wins did they say? 8 prizes since 2018.
Yeah, pretty impressive. She put it down to talented storytellers, high production values, mentioned Scam, Requiem for Selena as examples. Why do you think Norwegian drama travels so well?
I think it often feels really authentic. They tackle relatable issues, but with a specific local flavor. Scam was huge globally because it felt so real about teen life. Good writing, strong characters, looks good. Seems like a solid formula.
Okay, now for something weird. South Korea's Sudis premiered a show called S-Line. The premise sounds wild.
Wild is right. Okay, get this. Sexual connections literally appear as visible, physical red threads between people.
What threads?
Yep. And then chaos erupts when special glasses that let you see these S-lines fall into the wrong hands.
Oh my God, that is out there.
Totally. Creator Hande Ri apparently spent 10 years on it, wants to mess with traditional love stories. What do you even do with a premise like that?
I mean, it's definitely memorable, could be amazing, could be a disaster, but it's bold. That kind of high concept stuff can really stand out. Exactly. It shows that drive to innovate, give audiences something totally new, even if it's kind of unsettling.
Okay, maybe slightly more down to earth. Another Norwegian series at Canneseries, Rebound, deals with breakups, but in a particularly shocking way.
Yeah, the premiere apparently features someone getting dumped during sex.
Oof, shades of Sex in the City, someone mentioned.
Exactly. And the creator, Melik Lebelbishioglu Kaveh, actually drew on her own experience for it, which probably gives it that raw, authentic feel when exploring the shock and trauma of a sudden breakup like that. How does using personal experience usually affect a story?
It often brings this vulnerability, right? A truthfulness that makes characters feel real, even if the situation is extreme, helps the audience connect.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, for anyone trying to make it in digital content, there was this event, How to Make Money in Digital. Some useful tips.
Sounds like it. Really practical stuff. Commissioners from MTV, Channel 4, Hearst Networks were talking about what they look for in social video.
Like pitching tips, platform opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, plus the business side. Rights, budgeting. Crucial stuff for new creators. What's the main takeaway for someone starting out?
It seems like you need to really know the platforms and their audiences, have a sharp pitch, and understand the business basics. It's not just having a cool idea. You need the whole package to build something sustainable.
Gotcha. And just quickly, a film update. That Third Accountant movie still might happen.
Oh, yeah. Ben Affleck back.
Director Gavin O'Connor says Anna Kendrick is interested in returning too. So if Affleck and the writer are also game, it looks more likely.
Fans will be happy. Okay, a couple more quick hits. Wild Bunch TV picked up a Spanish crime drama, The Clan Olympia.
Sounds intriguing. Housewives becomes drug trafficker.
Yeah. And also a Christmas comedy, Single Bells. Just shows that appetite for different genres from around the world.
And last one. Channel 4 in the UK has this production training scheme.
Oh, yeah. What's that about?
It's aimed at helping underrepresented talent get into the industry. Paid 12-month jobs with production companies across the UK.
That's great. Initiatives like that are so important for making the industry more diverse, opening doors for people.
Definitely. So, okay, wrapping up this deep dive, it's just so clear how much is constantly moving and shaking in global media, isn't it?
Absolutely. From new voices in India to digital ad strategies, reality TV shifts, how stories are even structured, it's incredibly dynamic.
The sheer range we covered today just hammers home how interconnected and, well, multifaceted it all is. Always changing.
Constant innovation, constant adaptation.
What's maybe one key thing you're taking away from all this? Something that really stands out?
For me, I think it's just how global everything feels now. Ideas, talent, trends, they're flowing across borders between platforms more easily than ever. It's making entertainment richer, more diverse.
That's a really good point. And it kind of leaves you with a big question, doesn't it? With all
Yeah.
these changes, new platforms, global viewpoints, what does really good, really engaging entertainment even look like in 2025 or beyond? And who gets to decide what works in this crazy shifting landscape?
Yeah, definitely something to keep thinking about.